Let me ask you something. Have you ever met a woman who walks into the room and without saying a single word, everyone feels her presence? Not because of the clothes she wears, not because of her beauty, but because there's something deeper. Something unshakable about her spirit. That kind of woman isn't defined by age, wealth, or appearance. She's irresistible because of the way she carries herself, the way she treats others, and the way she chooses to live. And today, I want to share with you 5 habits that make a mature woman truly irresistible. Not in a shallow way, but in the way that touches lives, builds trust, and leaves a mark on every soul she meets. She walks in confidence, not comparison. Imagine for a moment walking into a room where everyone seems to be looking around, measuring themselves against one another. You can almost feel the tension in the air. Who is dressed better? Who has more success? Who looks younger, smarter, or more accomplished? It's exhausting, isn't it? That's what happens when comparison runs the show. Comparison drains energy, steals joy, and blinds us from seeing our own unique strengths. But when a woman carries herself with quiet, steady confidence, everything changes. Her presence becomes magnetic, not because she's trying to prove anything, but because she is at peace with who she is. Confidence is not about being the loudest in the room or demanding attention. It's not about perfection either. It's about alignment. It's about knowing your values, understanding your worth, and choosing to stand firmly in them, even when the world whispers otherwise. A confident woman does not need to compete with anyone else because she knows her lane. She knows her purpose. She knows that her story is not meant to be a copy of someone else's. That kind of assurance is irresistible. People naturally lean toward those who are unapologetically themselves. When you live in comparison, you live in scarcity. You tell yourself there isn't enough success to go around, not enough beauty, not enough opportunity, not enough love. You chase after other people's approval, hoping it will finally make you feel complete. But when you shift into confidence, you begin to live in abundance. You recognize that someone else's win does not take away from yours. You stop seeing life as a competition and start seeing it as a journey. This shift frees you to celebrate others while still standing tall in your own calling. Think about the people who have influenced you most deeply. Were they perfect? Probably not, but they were real. They carried themselves with a kind of strength that wasn't about ego, but about authenticity. That is what confidence really looks like. It's the ability to walk into the same room where comparison is choking the atmosphere and breathe differently. It's choosing to radiate acceptance instead of insecurity. It's saying with your life, I am enough, and I'm still growing. Confidence also changes the way you handle setbacks. A woman rooted in comparison sees every failure as proof that she is not good enough. A woman rooted in confidence sees failure as part of the process. She knows her worth doesn't vanish because of one mistake. She knows growth often comes through falling, learning, and rising again. That resilience, that refusal to let challenges define her, is what makes her unshakable. This kind of confidence doesn't happen overnight. It's built one choice at a time. It starts with self-awareness, asking the hard questions. Who am I? What do I stand for? What matters most to me? Then it grows through practice, through speaking kindly to yourself, through keeping promises to yourself, through celebrating progress instead of perfection. Over time, this becomes a habit, a way of life. And here's the beautiful part when a woman chooses confidence over comparison. She gives permission to others to do the same. She becomes a mirror for what's possible. She reminds her friends, her family, even strangers that they too are enough. Her presence doesn't spark jealousy. It inspires courage. She doesn't diminish others. She lifts them. That ripple effect is what makes confidence so powerful. So when we talk about being irresistible, we're not talking about charm or beauty. that fades with time. We're talking about the kind of presence that leaves people feeling stronger simply because they cross paths with you. That is the gift of confidence. That is the strength of a woman who knows she doesn't need to compare herself with anyone because she's already walking her unique, irreplaceable path. She speaks with grace, not gossip. There's a moment we all face when someone leans in, lowers their voice, and begins to share the latest story about someone who isn't in the room. The temptation is strong to listen, maybe even add a little piece of our own, because gossip feels like a shortcut to connection. But here's the truth: it never builds real trust. It leaves a residue, a subtle question in the back of our minds. If they speak this way about others, how do they speak about me when I'm not here? Gossip doesn't unite, it divides. It doesn't elevate, it erodes. A woman who chooses grace instead of gossip changes that atmosphere. Her words are not weapons but bridges. She understands that the power of her voice can either cut down or build up, and she decides to build. That doesn't mean she avoids hard conversations or hides the truth. Grace is not weakness. Grace is strength under control. It's the ability to speak truth in a way that heals instead of harms. Think about how refreshing it feels to be around someone who refuses to entertain negativity. When the conversation turns sharp, she redirects it. When someone starts to tear another down, she asks a different question, shifts the focus, or simply refuses to participate. That takes courage. It's much easier to blend in and nod along. But a woman who speaks with grace isn't interested in easy, she's interested in meaningful. And that's what makes her unforgettable. We all know the difference between walking away from a conversation that lifted us and one that left us feeling a little smaller. Words matter. They carry weight. A mature woman chooses hers carefully, not to manipulate, but to inspire. She compliments sincerely, encourages freely, and offers wisdom where others might offer criticism. And because of this, people feel safe with her. They open up. They share their dreams and their struggles because they know her words won't be used against them later. Grace also shows up in the way she speaks about herself. When you live with self-compassion, it becomes easier to extend compassion to others. Gossip often flows out of insecurity. Pointing out someone else's flaws feels like a way to cover our own. But when you begin to accept your own imperfections, you no longer need to magnify anyone else's. Grace flows outward from the inside. This habit of speaking with grace has ripple effects. It changes families. It changes friendships. It changes workplaces. Imagine a team where people knew that behind closed doors, their names were spoken with respect. Imagine a marriage where words were used not as weapons, but as tools to heal. Imagine a community where kindness carried further than rumors. That's the influence of a woman who refuses to gossip. She becomes a source of peace and stability in a world that thrives on drama. And let's not forget, grace doesn't mean silence when something is wrong. Speaking with grace doesn't mean avoiding confrontation. It means approaching it with intention. It's addressing the issue without attacking the person. It's offering a solution without shaming. It's being firm, but fair. That kind of conversation doesn't just solve problems, it strengthens relationships. Over time, this becomes her reputation. She is the woman people seek out for advice because they know she will tell the truth with kindness. She is the woman people trust with their secrets because they know she will carry them with care. She is the woman whose words linger long after she leaves the room, not because they were clever, but because they were life-giving. So when a woman chooses grace over gossip, she does more than elevate herself. She elevates everyone around her. She shows that words can heal, words can connect, words can create belonging. And in a world that often feels divided and harsh, that kind of presence is irresistible. She guards her peace like treasure. There is a certain strength in a woman who refuses to let the noise of the world dictate the state of her soul. Life is filled with distractions. Everywhere you turn, there are arguments waiting to pull you in, drama trying to entangle you, and negativity demanding your attention. And yet, a mature woman knows her peace is far too valuable to give away cheaply. She protects it the way someone would guard a rare treasure, because that's exactly what it is. Peace is not something that just appears. It is built, cultivated, and maintained. It requires choices, often difficult ones. It means deciding not to react to every insult, not to attend every fight, not to let every opinion pierce through your heart. A woman who guards her peace knows that she cannot control the chaos around her, but she can control how she responds to it. That awareness is power. Imagine walking through a crowded marketplace. There are voices everywhere, each one louder than the last, pulling at you, demanding your attention. If you stop for every single one, you'll never make it to your destination. But if you stay focused, if you know where you're going, the noise begins to fade into the background. That is what it looks like to guard your peace. It's not about silencing the world. It's about refusing to let the world silence you. People who do not guard their peace often live on edge. They carry the weight of other people's problems, opinions, and negativity until it crushes them. But a woman who has learned to treasure her peace sets boundaries. She understands that saying no is not selfish. It is necessary. She knows that she cannot pour into others if she is empty herself. By protecting her inner calm, she actually becomes more present, more loving, and more generous. Guarding peace also means choosing your environment carefully. Who do you allow into your inner circle? Who do you let speak into your life? Not every voice deserves access to your spirit. A woman who values her peace surrounds herself with people who build her, not break her. She invests in relationships that breathe life, not those that drain it. She is selective not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. Peace is also about rhythm. It is knowing when to work hard and when to rest. Too often, we glorify exhaustion as if being constantly busy is proof of worth. But the woman who treasures her peace recognizes the strength in stillness. She creates space to breathe, to reflect, to connect with what matters most. And in doing so, she shows others that life is not meant to be a race against time, but a journey toward meaning. Of course, there will always be storms. There will be seasons of loss, conflict, and uncertainty. Guarding peace does not mean ignoring reality. It means carrying calm even when reality shakes you. It means having an anchor inside that keeps you steady no matter how rough the waters get. That is why people are drawn to her. In her presence, they feel safe. They feel steady. They feel hope. Guarding peace like treasure is not about building walls, it's about building strength. It is about knowing who you are, what matters most, and refusing to let anything steal that away. And in a world full of constant noise and endless battles, a woman who walks in peace shines like light in the dark. She becomes not only irresistible, but unforgettable, because her calm doesn't just benefit her, it transforms everyone around her. She chooses growth over comfort. There comes a point in life when every woman has to decide whether she will stay where it feels safe or step into the unknown where growth happens. Comfort whispers promises of ease, predictability, and security. Growth, on the other hand, demands courage, risk, and the willingness to be stretched beyond what feels familiar. A mature woman who becomes truly irresistible is the one who chooses growth, even when comfort is tempting. Comfort zones are cozy. They give us routines we know well, patterns we can control, and outcomes that rarely surprise us. But they also limit us. They keep us from discovering the depth of our strength, the height of our potential, and the beauty of what we are capable of becoming. A woman who chooses growth understands that staying the same may feel safe, but it keeps her small. She would rather step into the discomfort of change than settle for a life of unrealized potential. Think about a seed buried in the soil. If it remains comfortable underground, it will never become the tree it was designed to be. Growth requires breaking through, stretching roots downward, and pushing upward against the weight of the earth. It's not easy, but it's necessary. In the same way, a woman who chooses growth is willing to face the pressure, the struggle, and the unknown because she knows it is the only way to become who she was meant to be. This choice shows up in everyday decisions. It looks like saying yes to learning a new skill when it would be easier to stick with what she already knows. It looks like having difficult conversations instead of avoiding conflict. It looks like forgiving when holding a grudge would be far more comfortable. It looks like investing in her health, her mind, her faith, her relationships, even when excuses would make it easier not to. These choices don't feel pleasant in the moment, but they create transformation over time. People are drawn to this kind of woman because her life radiates resilience. She doesn't crumble when faced with challenges. She adapts and grows stronger. She doesn't cling to what used to work if it no longer serves her. She evolves. She doesn't let fear of failure keep her stagnant. She understands failure is often the path to wisdom. This willingness to embrace growth gives her a vitality, a sense of purpose that makes her stand out. Choosing growth also changes the way she sees setbacks. Where others see obstacles, she sees opportunities to learn. Where others retreat, she presses forward. This doesn't mean she never feels fear or doubt. It means she doesn't let them control her. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" she asks, "What might I discover if I try?" That shift in perspective creates courage not just for her, but for everyone watching her journey. It's important to realize that growth never truly ends. There's always another layer of wisdom to gain, another horizon to reach, another challenge to rise through. A woman who chooses growth embraces this reality. She doesn't look for an endpoint where she can finally rest in perfection. She understands that the beauty of life is in the becoming, not the arriving. And in making that choice, she inspires others to rise as well. Her life becomes an invitation for those around her to step out of their own comfort zones. She shows that courage is contagious, that resilience can be taught by example, and that growth, while uncomfortable, is always worth it. This is why a woman who consistently chooses growth over comfort is irresistible. She doesn't just exist, she expands. She doesn't just live, she evolves. And in doing so, she proves that the most attractive quality is not perfection, but the relentless pursuit of becoming a stronger, wiser, more compassionate version of yourself. She loves without fear. There is a strength unlike any other in a woman who chooses to love without fear. The world often teaches us that love should be cautious, measured, and protected at all costs. We are told not to give too much, not to be too vulnerable, because it might be taken for granted or rejected. But love wrapped in fear is not love at all. It is a guarded transaction. Real love, the kind that makes a woman unforgettable, flows freely and bravely, unshaken by the possibility of being hurt. A woman who loves without fear is not reckless. She is wise. She understands that love is not weakness, but power. It takes courage to open your heart, to forgive when it would be easier to stay bitter, to show compassion when the world expects you to turn cold. Loving without fear means choosing connection over isolation, empathy over judgment, and generosity over selfishness. And that choice sets her apart. Think of the people who have left a permanent mark on your life. Chances are, they are the ones who loved you deeply. They didn't just tolerate you. They saw you, believed in you, and invested in you. That kind of love is irresistible because it makes people feel alive. It's not about romance alone. It's about how a woman treats her friends, her family, her colleagues, even strangers. Her love becomes a language of kindness that everyone understands. Fear tells us to protect ourselves, to hold back to keep love small and safe. But love without fear recognizes that even if it costs something, it is worth it. A woman who lives this way doesn't wait to be loved first. She leads with love. She encourages without needing recognition. She forgives without keeping score. She gives without calculating what she will get in return. This doesn't make her naive. It makes her powerful, because she lives in alignment with what matters most. When challenges come, her love becomes an anchor. She can face conflict without letting it harden her. She can face betrayal without letting it define her. She can face loss without letting it extinguish her spirit. People notice this strength because it is rare. In a world where so many retreat into fear, her ability to keep loving is magnetic. It draws people in because it feels safe, steady, and unwavering. This kind of love also shapes how she sees herself. Loving without fear starts within. It means not holding back compassion from your own soul. It means forgiving yourself for the past, embracing your worth in the present, and believing in your potential for the future. A woman who loves herself in this way doesn't need validation from the outside. She pours from a place of fullness, not emptiness. And because of that, her love for others becomes even more authentic. The impact of a fearless love is transformative. It changes homes because children raised in it grow secure and confident. It changes marriages because it builds a foundation of trust and grace. It changes communities because it bridges divides and creates belonging. When a woman consistently loves without fear, she doesn't just touch lives, she changes them. At the heart of it, people remember how you made them feel. And a woman who chooses love over fear makes others feel valued, seen, and uplifted. She leaves behind a legacy not of things, but of lives she touched, hearts she healed, and hope she carried into places that were broken. To love without fear is not easy, but it is the path to a life that matters. And that is what makes a woman irresistible. Not the beauty that fades, not the achievements that pass, but the fearless love that continues to shine long after everything else. So here's what makes a mature woman irresistible. She walks in confidence, not comparison. She speaks with grace, not gossip. She guards her peace like treasure. She chooses growth over comfort. And she loves without fear. That's the kind of woman who doesn't just turn heads, she changes lives. And my friend, that woman could be you. Step into these habits, live them daily, and watch as your life, your influence, and your spirit become impossible to ignore. Because true beauty isn't about what fades, it's about what stays. And what stays is the heart, the wisdom, the peace, and the love you carry everywhere you go.